special 3-game homestand for the Hokies of Virginia Tech. The first visitor, the number 8 Panthers from Pittsburgh. We are in the stretch of the regular season of Big East play, and the matchup tonight between the Panthers and the Hokies, there's still plenty to play for both of these teams. First of all, for Pittsburgh, if you look at the standings in the West, it is Pittsburgh battling Syracuse and Notre Dame for top spot, and one of those 3 teams is not going to get a bye in the Big East Championship. In the East, it's just at the bottom of the standings, the battle there between Virginia Tech and Miami to see which one of those 2 teams will make the trip to New York, and they do have a game remaining, and that will take place right here in Blacksburg. We're inside Castle Coliseum tonight. Happy to be here because there's a lot of snow outside. I'm John Sanders along with Bob Wenzel. Let's talk about these Panthers. Big guys inside, 6 players average in double figures. Maybe their hottest player of late is a guy that doesn't start, Siobhan Troutman.
Absolutely. Balance is the byword for the Pittsburgh Panthers, and Siobhan Troutman is absolutely terrific inside. He is shooting 72% from the field for the season. He does it. They don't even try to go to him. He has a knack for being around the basketball, and he does a tremendous job at both ends. Siobhan Troutman, 11.7 points a game. Statistic anomaly.
Carlos Dixon will not play for Virginia Tech tonight. That means more pressure on them to get some offense from somebody and get big inside play, I think, from Terry Taylor.
Yes, Terry Taylor is a monster. 6'9", tipping the scales at 300 pounds. He did a great job against Notre Dame in their last game. He has to play a lot of minutes for them to be in the 8th-ranked team in the nation in Pittsburgh. Terry Taylor's going to have to do the job inside.
And with just a few games remaining in the regular season, it's a very intense time. Panthers hope to finish strong as they did last year. The Hokies hoping to finish strong as well so they can make it to New York. Big East basketball straight ahead. Tonight's Big East game is brought to you by Dodge. Dodge, grab life by the horns. By Conagra Foods, we set America's table at home and away. By Hyundai, where driving is believing. Come test drive the full lineup of exciting new cars at your local Hyundai dealer today. Well, the snow threat, I think, has shortened the lines for tickets here at this game tonight because they are predicting snow tonight and tomorrow in a lot of places, including schools closed early this afternoon, but we're here to go. It's Knight, Page, Lett, Brown, Zavatskis, Branham, Davis, Taylor, Matthews, and Tompkins, the starting 5 for the Hokies of Virginia Tech. And for Julius Page, it's kind of a special day because Julius today celebrates his 21st birthday. So happy birthday to Julius Page. He's still one of the younger members of this starting team, and of course Brian Matthews has simply done it all so far this year for the Hokies.
Averaging 21 points a game in their last 5 games. He's their best player, and he needs to come up big in the scoring area for them to have a chance against Pittsburgh.
We're going to re-jump, says our referee for tonight, Reggie Greenwood. He's assisted. Our umpires are Andre Patillo and Ray Perrone. So the Panthers will have the first possession.
Did you say Julius was 21 years old?
I said he was 21 years old today.
Does that make him the youngest guy on this team?
Of the starters, yes.
Krauser's 22. He's a freshman.
That's Krauser is older. Jerron Brown is 23. Ontario Lett is 23. Is the birthday boy, commits the first turnover. Brandon Knight just turned 21 in December, so he's just slightly older than Julius Page.
And he's graduating.
That's right. Julius will be back next year. So the ball controlled by Branham, sets up his running mate, Matthews, who gets it back, goes baseline, pulls up for his jumper, comes up a little short, scramble for the rebound, and Page squeezes it for Pittsburgh. Back come the Panthers. All of their losses this year on the road. Page for 3. Air ball. Ben Howland in his 4th year at the helm. What a terrific job last year. Coached his team to 29 victories. This year's team is going to have to go some to match that total because they didn't lose game number 5 until the championship of the Big East Championship in New York and game 6 in the NCAA. Taylor has it blocked by Lett. Tompkins got it back and bangs it home.
Well, the Beef brothers inside. Damari Tompkins started early, didn't start later in the season. He and Taylor at nearly 300. and Tompkins about 270, so they have large beef up front, and they need that against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, a very physical team. Zone defense being employed by Coach Stokes here, trying to force the perimeter jump shot. Not one of the great strengths of this terrific Pittsburgh team.
Page gets it inside to Lett, almost taken away by Tompkins, still gets the shot up and in.
That is strength right there. Powerful upper body, Ontario Lett.
Inside to Taylor against Zavatskas, puts up the short jumper, bending off, tipped out of bounds, belongs to Pittsburgh.
Well, you talk about Pittsburgh being undefeated at home this year, John. Virginia Tech much better in this building than they are on the road. You mentioned Carlos Dixon is out. He's 15 points a game that they have to replace, and they haven't been able to do that in the last several games. He was hurt at Miami and has not played the last several games.
Well, it also means that they can spend more time and pay more attention to Bryant Matthews without the option of Dixon. Zavatskas thought about the three. Knight passes on his, gets inside, back to Zavatskas, just inside the line, missed his shot, and maybe a bumping foul from behind on Taylor. So Terry will pick up his first, and one of the things, there is Carlos Dixon on the sidelines. He was at practice today, and they do think, despite the broken foot and the surgery, that he'll be back maybe in time for Villanova, certainly for Miami and Virginia, West Virginia.
Well, he is a fast healer then, and Ricky Stokes must be working some magic with the medical staff there. In his fourth season, struggling in the Big East. They have not been to the tournament at all in the years that he has been coach here in terms of the Big East tournament, and they are hoping that they qualify this season. Miami is the team they have to beat out.
Well, you mentioned their success here, although 7-5. One of their big victories here was against the University of Connecticut.
Absolutely, the first game that Jim Calhoun did not coach after his prostate surgery. We saw Jaron Brown's numbers. Everybody on Pittsburgh has about the same numbers. They all average 11 or 10 points a game. They are not a team that you look at individually and say, wow, what a statistical team.
Nice catch inside that time and a good finish by Bryant Matthews.
Pittsburgh, a extremely balanced team, not only in their inside out, but also in terms of shots, frequency of shots by different players. Very, very solid and balanced squad, unselfish.
We'll talk about it more later. Their assist to baskets made ratio is outstanding. Rebound on the weak side snatched away by Fabian Davis.
And this is the end where Pittsburgh excels, the defensive end. Don't create a lot of turnovers, but they make you miss, and then they rebound. A lot of beef on the inside. Zavatskas guarding a guy 30 pounds or 40 pounds heavier than himself in Taylor.
Well, when you hold your opposition under 40%, 38% shooting, that will speak to your defense, and they had been the key. There's a turnover. Lett ahead of the crowd, has it stripped away. Good quick move by Branham that time, gets it back for the Hokies. Davis has it knocked away. And diving for the loose ball, it's the Panthers. Here's Jerron Brown. Jerron Brown with his first field goal.
Well, Zavatskas went down on that loose ball, and Fabian Davis hit him and fell right on his head, and he cracked it on the lane area.
That's going to bring out Tony Salisi, the Panther trainer. And the one thing the Panthers and any team in the Big East can ill afford right now, there's the bang as the head came down while his head was on the floor.
Davis unintentionally fell right on him.
Right
comes
there.
Down hard, and that hurts.
Well, the Panthers, I mentioned, finished so strong last year, winning their final 7 regular season games. The first two games in the tournament, first 2 games in the NCAAs. Zavatskas, one of the 6 Panthers, averaging in double figures, although his shooting percentages not as good as they were last year. He was one of the better three-point shooters.
Yeah, well, still 44% is very good and the best on this team. But every time we throw up a graphic about the points per game, they're all going to look very similar. Very similar, and that is the strength of this team.
No one averages over 12, and of the top 6 scores, nobody under 10. So
the 8th ranked team in the country, they were as high as 2nd ranked this season.
Last week they were 9th, which was their lowest, or if you want to look at it the other way, highest ranking of the year. But they were number 2 for a couple of weeks. Had a chance maybe to be number 1. But then so is everybody else in the country, just about. I mean, the way it's been this year, Bob, I don't think there is a consensus number 1 going into March. Branham controls. Shot clock at 15. Each team 2 for 5, 40% in the early going. Taylor going to make it 3 for 6. It's his first basket.
Good patience on the part of the Hokies. He is their main man. He's on a hot streak right now. 23 and 27 in his last 2 games. And he's the guy that they need to go to, especially with the absence of Dixon. More concentration on getting the ball inside for the Hokies.
Well, he's now had 6 20-point games, so he has stepped it up when needed. Brown gets inside. Little runner goes. Jerron Brown does a lot of the dirty work for the Panthers and does it well.
John, this guy defies description. I know he's one of your favorite players. Jerron Brown, you can't categorize him as anything. You know, you can't say he's a point guard, he's a 2 guard, he's a small forward. He does everything. Led them in rebounding last year at 6'4". Shoots only when it's necessary, makes them when he does. Guy's terrific, terrific player.
But hustle down the loose balls, get the key rebounds. He does it all. Shot clock inside 10. 3-pointers off the mark, and Siobhan Troutman, who's in the lineup for Pittsburgh, gets the rebound. He's on the wing with Knight, gets the feed, gets it back to left. Oh, that's beautiful basketball right there.
Very unselfish play. When Troutman and Lett are in the game at the same time, they have an uncanny ability to find one another in the lane.
Well, that is just typical of what the Panthers can do. They will push it when they get a chance. Foul's going to go on Troutman.
Well, the foul was before the charge. Ontario Lett.
He might have saved Tompkins a foul right there.
Ontario Lett stepped in to take the charge, but Tompkins was fouled before he could take the charge, but took the brunt of it anyway.
Fabian Davis getting the start tonight out of Durham, North Carolina, went to Bonner Academy. He's 6'6", a freshman. He's not playing that many minutes, but he's going to get more minutes in the absence of Dixon here in this stretch.
Well, they have been all year long as Torrey Morris comes in at a post position and Lett gets a seat for a moment. Virginia Tech has been a team that has experimented with their lineup dramatically all during the course of the year, even before Dixon was injured.
You're right, because they've used 10 different starters already this season.
Precisely. And Matthews and Taylor and Dixon were the anchors. Now they only have 2 anchors in Matthews and Taylor, and the rest of the guys are in and out, play 6 minutes one game, 20 minutes the next game, back and forth, back and forth. Difficult to establish roles in that kind of way. Phil McCandies, who had been starting,
suffering from some tonsillitis. He is ill, not able to start this game tonight. The Panthers' lead is 1. Pittsburgh, as always, not afraid to make the extra pass to get the easy basket. They've got the early lead here in Blacksburg. Panthers have a 1-point lead. We saw some good ball movement. Bob, that's one of the things they're noted for.
That is characteristic of their play. This sequence typically happens with ball movement. It starts with Knight, their point guard. This is attacking zone right here. Page gets it on the wing. Zavatkis touches it inside. Many players would shoot this. He gets it back out, and as a result, the ball reversal and a wide open shot by Krauser typifies the unselfishness of this team. And I'll tell you what, they are big time when it comes to offensive efficiency. They are #1 in the league and #5 in the country in field goal percentage. Take a look at their assists. 18, 5th in the nation. They get an assist on 66% of their field goals. That, my friends, is old-style basketball and winning hoops.
Well, the Panthers will bring it up. Their biggest lead has been 3. The early lead for the Hokies was 2. We played just over 5 minutes of our Big East matchup as Troutman makes the catch inside.
John, what Virginia Tech is doing is they're not guarding Brandon Knight away from the basket. They're allowing him to take a good look, and he's not looking at the basket. Only 20-something% from 3-point range this season.
So he penetrates, kicks it back, 3-pointer, comes up short, tipped out of bounds, touched last by Torrey Morris, who's checked into Ben Howland's lineup.
If you are Virginia Tech and you're second to the last or last place in the conference, you want to slow the 8th-ranked team in the country down. They're doing it effectively so far with zone defense. Pittsburgh patient with it. Pittsburgh, even though they're highly ranked, John, they very rarely blow people out.
Even though they have that huge difference in points. Taylor working hard inside, gets his second basket. Puts the Hokies back on top at 10-9.
There are some guys, John, that are wide and do not use their bodies well. Taylor is one of those guys that does use his body well. Shields the defense, protects the basketball, doesn't jump very high, but a good scorer.
Brandon Knight looks for help, and it's stolen. almost stolen. It goes into backcourt. It was deflected that time by Marcus Sales.
Brandon Knight, you can see him directing the team out here.
Here goes Page. He was hooked as he went to the baseline, and Morris buries a jumper from outside. Torrey Morris with a big basket to give the Panthers the edge at 11-10.
Torrey Morris started all of last year. This year, guy who comes in off the bench.
Well, last year they were using Ontario Lett, who was a late signee out of Pensacola Junior College, to give him that spark off the bench. Let's see if we've got Morris inside with a foul.
Indeed, going over the back. Morris doesn't have to do that on Taylor. 14 minutes a game does Torrey play.
Here comes Carl Krause, the redshirt freshman. Jerron Brown goes to the bench. Zavatkis has not returned since he hit his head.
Krause, versatile tight guy, can play with Brandon Knight as the 2 guard, or also can play the point guard when Brandon, on rare occasions, goes to the bench. Brandon Knight been hobbled this year by knee and ankle injuries. Talked to Jamie Dixon, the assistant coach, before the game. John said this was the first week he's really practiced full time during the entire season. Been nursing those pegs.
Well, he did have a big game in the win for the Panthers at Georgetown, the game that was postponed because of the snowstorm. Here's Taylor inside, puts up the jump hook, comes up short, tipped up, still scrambling, and finally Julius Page, who has a 39-inch vertical leap, has the rebound.
That is big time.
Krause. Knight for 3. This could be a key for Pittsburgh. If he shoots it well, they'll be tough. If not, I don't blame the Hokies for laying back.
No, absolutely not. They're playing 5 against 4, and that's what their strategy is thus far in the game. A little traveling action. Also, John, Pittsburgh deciding to double team on Taylor when he catches the ball in the paint. Matthews, a little traveling action for Coach Stokes on the sideline there.
Well, the Panthers will get it back thanks to the Virginia Tech turnover. 12 minutes, 15 seconds to play first half. As Krause will be the one who runs the show for next year, because Brandon Knight finishing his senior season, and backdoor the alley-oop.
How many inches was his vertical jump?
All 39 right there.
He used them right there.
The Panthers have their second 3-point lead of the opening half.
Julius Page is my son Michael's favorite player. He says he's smart, he can jump high.
That's a good combination. There's Matthews for 3. A little strong, rebound by Page, gets it to Knight. Look to Krause. Got Morris ahead, had Troutman open coming down the wing. Page steps around the defender, too strong off the glass, and right there with a putback, it's no good. Page tried to save it out of bounds, and it'll be the Hokies basketball. Well, you don't get a better look than Torrey Morris got with that follow shot, but he missed it. But the Panthers using the jumping ability of Julius Page. And of course, the guy that was running the offense with the assist is Brandon Knight. Pittsburgh leads by 3. It is 13-10, Pittsburgh leading Virginia Tech. We talked about Terry Taylor and the job he would have to do tonight. So far, so good, Bob.
So far, so good is right. Terry Taylor inside. They go to him, and on this kind of a play, it's a pass. You notice he's not being double-teamed right there, and he needs to be double-teamed. The other way that he scores is on the weak side. He uses his body to fend people off, and when he gets it, watch how he protects the ball with his body. Nice little easy shot. Torrey Morris can't do anything about it. Good start for Taylor. He's got 4 points in this game, averaging 15.
You just can't move him out of the way, Bob. There's no way you're going to move that body. Those 300 pounds are going to stay right where they are. This is Callaway with a quick turnaround. Too strong. The rebound by Brown. Back into the lineup. Zavatkis still has not returned for Pittsburgh after suffering the injury. Krause gets it to Brown. A nice easy feed to Morris and a finish inside. You can't give him that kind of room.
He did a good job beforehand. Taylor, I think, is getting a little fatigued right now. If you notice, Zavatkis has been in, Lett's been in, Troutman's been in, and Morris. That's 4 post players, and Taylor hasn't had a breath yet.
But he will get a chance to go to the line and catch his breath there. It's foul number 2 on Torrey Morris. Of course, you mix in Torrey Morris, Lett, Troutman. They have some fouls to give inside, and they will do that.
Right here, watch how he positions himself. He catches the ball in the lane, gets some double team action, but turns away from the double team, which is the right thing to do for a post player. Taylor, a senior, educated and learning all the time. Ontario Lett comes back. Torrey Morris gets a seat for a while.
Well, he is a native of Virginia, from Virginia Beach, and went to Allegheny Junior College in Maryland before transferring here to the Hokies program at Virginia Tech.
Torrey Morris getting a breather, and that is valuable. And we've outlined the 4 post players who play for Pittsburgh. When you get rest, that shows in the second half. Taylor having to play the entire time.
Krauser took it away from Brown.
Krauser wanted to get a steal. He's going to talk about that should be a steal.
Here's Knight, the quick pass inside, and Lett is alone to finish the shot.
Well, you notice now with Krauser in the game, they're sending Knight through, and Knight has become effective passer from the corners and the wings against the zone instead of staying out front all the time. Also, Krauser, a capable shooter from out front.
Krauser almost took it away that time. Matthews saves it. Working on Brown, puts up the jumper line, drives it short. What a beautiful follow, racing in there for Sean Harris, a freshman from Ettrick, Virginia. Well, he would not be denied. Knight for 3, and the Panthers, if they get that from Brandon Knight, that makes them even tougher.
There's no question about that. Only 27% from three-point range on the season for Brandon Knight, but he seems to make shots when they count the most. Also, I think when Krauser is in, he thinks of himself more as a 2-guard, gets his scoring in motion.
And Donatas Zavatskis is set to return to the Panther lineup, so apparently he's all right after banging his head. Tompkins with it. The jumper, the three-pointer, hits the bottom of the net by Matthews.
Well-executed play on the part of the Hokies there, John. 2 double screens set for Matthews, your best perimeter shooter, and a nice look at it.
Brian Chase, number 5, is checked into the lineup for the Hokies. Did not play at Notre Dame. Missed the game because of family problems. Troutman tried to keep it alive, and now a foul is going to be called probably on Lett. It's going to be on Ontario Lett with his first foul.
A lot of action on the offensive boards in this game for both teams. Virginia Tech doing a great job. Last year, Virginia Tech, John, despite not being a great team, led the league in rebounding. And I think partially they missed so many shots, they had to rebound a lot. They went after it.
Yeah, they had 4 Big East wins a year ago. They beat Boston College. They won on the road at West Virginia. They beat PC, and they beat Rutgers. This year, so far, 3. They're going to need more than that to get to New York. Tompkins passes on the 3, puts up a jumper, too strong.
I believe Matthews grabbed a shirt there out of frustration.
And that will be the first foul on Bryant, who is just closing in on 1,000 points in his career, but he's got some work to do. Well, it would certainly help him if they would get to New York.
I'll tell you, he's a good one, though. Last year averaged 9 points a game. This year averaging almost 18 points a game, so he's doubled his production.
Well, we've seen him before, and he and Carlos Dixon are almost mirror images of each other.
Yes.
Knight goes inside to Lett. He traveled. Well, the Panthers will turn it back.
Panthers are doing a great job of getting the ball inside against the seams of the zone right now. Ricky Stokes has to be happy about the way his team is functioning at the offensive and defensive end right now, staying close with the number 8 team in the country early. Brian Chase, number 5, is a shooter, led the league in three-point percentage last season, not doing quite as well this year.
Well, each team has turned it over 3 times in the early going, and that time Taylor tried to go back to Tompkins, who tried to hang on to Knight and picks up the foul. That'll be number 1 on Damari Tompkins.
Well, that was a double-team steal situation right there. Virginia Tech trying to go inside to Taylor. They get it to him. 34's man is double-teamed, and you see how Knight slides over in front of Damari Tompkins to get the steal. They baited them into that play. They need to double-team Taylor, and they are doing so.
8 minutes remaining first half. Krauser for 3. That's well off the mark, but Lett is there. Out of bounds, belongs to the Hokies. That will take us to a timeout. Pittsburgh has been up by as many as 6. Right now, the number 8 Panthers lead by 3, 20-17. We'll be back to Castle Coliseum after this. Panthers have the lead 20-17 with 7:59 left in the first half. We are in Blacksburg, Virginia tonight, where they are expecting a little snow in the western part of the state, the New River Valley area. I'm John Sanders along with Bob Wenzel. Shooting so far for the 2 teams. Virginia Tech 6 of 16. Pittsburgh is 9 of 20.
Right on target for both of those squads.
And a couple of scores as we see what's happening. Syracuse has opened up a lead at home against West Virginia. One of the Orange's best games this year was at West Virginia earlier this year, and Rhode Island has the early lead over number 25 Dayton. And Syracuse 19-4 on the year. Beat Michigan State on Sunday away from home. Too strong by Matthews. Oh, Sky will go for the rebound, and he's going to pick up a foul. Wow. I believe he climbed somebody's back right there. If it's Matthews, it's his second foul. It is Matthews. It is his second, and that could be costly. Right here, a little bit on Zavatkis' shoulder, using Zavatkis to aid his jump. Not much, though. Not much, but came down on top of him. I don't know. Tough one. He's their best offensive player. Decision time for Coach Stokes. Leave him in or take him out and risk him getting his third. Brown makes a good catch along the baseline. Krauser for three. Missed badly on his first attempt. Missed badly again. But there's Ontario left to the rescue. Hands to Krauser. Boy, that is very, very odd for Krauser. Yeah. It was a bad-looking shot right there. Both of his three-pointers have been bad. Page, not too bad there. The birthday boy with a three. The strength is that it doesn't matter if somebody's shooting bad. Somebody else will shoot well. Back to a 6-point Pittsburgh lead. None of these Panthers have played here before. The only other Big East meeting between these two teams was a couple of years ago in Pittsburgh. And Matthews tried to answer the three with one of his own. Krauser uses his speed, goes back to Page, gets it back again. Notice the balance, John, the floor balance, the balance of each player on the floor. The way they look for each other, everybody's head is up. Very few guys out of control on this team. Well, let's take a look now at our ConAgra Foods Big East standings. We did show them to you right at the top of the game. The West looks like this. Notre Dame a costly loss to UConn at home, their first loss at home this year. Well, the two things, I'm sorry, John, the two things, you said it correctly. Only two of those first three teams are going to get byes in the Big East tournament. That's significant. No one's ever won the tournament going 4 games in 4 days. And the second thing on this side is Seton Hall is hot. They've won 7 straight games, beat Rutgers last night. They started the season not so well, so they're going to be a bubble type of situation. Let's take a look at the East, where UConn and Villanova are at the top, both with 4 losses. Remember, everybody will play the same number, 16 conference games, but the real struggle is down here between Virginia Tech and Miami, and they have a meeting remaining here at Castle Coliseum. And that is very significant because neither wants to be left out of the Big East tournament. And of course, the Boston College Villanova game that was snowed out will be replayed on March 4th. And that will be a very significant game in determining which on that side will go with the bye. Here's Chase. They dump down inside to Tompkins against Lett. Has it deflected. That one is knocked into the hands of Page. Pittsburgh. And Page trying to decide whether to give it up and when to give it up, turns it over. Well, he gave it up to Virginia Tech is what happened. And he's got his birthday outfit on, you can see. He cut off the sleeve on the left arm, and of course he's a left-hander, and leaves the sleeve down on the right arm. I don't know that there's any significance. I don't know. But that's the look for tonight. I like to watch the different guys and how they wear their socks. A lot of different styles and socks in college basketball each year. Krauser will pick up the foul. Pittsburgh's defense makes it very difficult for you to get anything that you normally want. And as a result, these kind of statistics come into play frequently when you play against them. No field goals in the last 3.5 minutes. Well, in their most recent game, they held Rutgers to 14 points in the first half. I mean, that's amazing. I'll tell you what, also, they have done lots of things like holding Jerome Coleman of Rutgers to 0 points in a game. Darius Rice, the great player from Miami, 0 points in a game against Pittsburgh. Page, that three rims out, but look at Brown. There he comes to the rescue. Boy, he does that game after game. 9 points for Jerron Brown. What happens when he plays the small forward position or the 2-guard spot, people don't block him out as well, and he plays like a power forward. Branham had it, lost it, and Krauser comes out of there with it for Pittsburgh. Panthers have their first double-digit lead. too many people under the basket that time. Lett and Brown collide, so now it's a 5-on-3. Chase for 3, and he hits it.
Chase is very accurate, and in situations where the defense backs up, he gets free. He's a little guy, but he can knock it in from deep.
We have exactly 5 minutes remaining. The Panthers trying to go inside, use their height inside, wind up with 2 of their players on the floor, and it turns into an easy 3 at the other end.
Well, this is lack of communication. Lett did not realize that there was going to be a lob thrown. Zavatkis backs up, but can't challenge enough. And Brian Chase, the most accurate guy from that range last year, gets his first tonight.
And he has 35 three-pointers now on the season. That puts him in the same class as the other three-point shooters. We have not had a lot so far. Each team 2 of 9 in three-pointers. Page and Knight have the 3s for Pittsburgh. Matthews and Chase had the 3s for the Hokies.
Chase has been getting crazy minutes this year, and as a result, I don't think his shooting is as good. You know, when he plays, if he was in a position, because of his size, maybe he doesn't play as much, but if he was playing 30 minutes a game, he'd get into a rhythm, would be a very weapon type guy.
Well, Brandon Knight appearing to get into a little bit of a rhythm, has made his last 2 three-pointers. The Panthers go back up by 10.
Brandon shooting from the wings rather than the top of the key. Seems more comfortable there.
Taylor uses that big body, gets some space, and rattles it home. He's got 8.
You got to double team him because he has proven not only to Pittsburgh but to other teams in the league that he can score when he gets it in the paint. Talking to Jamie Dixon before the game, you know, he talked about how they haven't played against Virginia Tech or played here. When they played him a couple of years ago, it's a totally different team.
Zavatkis gets the roll on a 3. Front iron, backboard, and net.
He's the guy you want doing that. And when he hits those 3 things that you mentioned, that means he's got a soft touch.
Most of the players, I think, like the rims here, even though the Panthers don't play here. That could change, though, next year if the Big East decides to go to simply 1 league instead of the 2 divisions. So you'd have to play everybody else in the league at least 1 time. And there'd be 3 other games. A little out of control that time, and Pittsburgh has numbers as they race back. And again, the Knight just a little hesitation in trying to give it up. Turns it over. 3:33 remaining here in the first half. Pittsburgh with its biggest lead. The Panthers are up by 11. The Panthers have crept into an 11-point lead, a lot of it coming from their defense and maybe some rushed shots by Virginia Tech.
Well, one of the things they do on defense, John, is they switch. When there's a screen, they switch. Watch this. As Matthews comes off, Krauser switches onto him, and as a result makes him take a bad shot. These are the kind of things that Pittsburgh thrives on, and they get out on the break in those situations. Krauser switching, guarding a bigger guy on the perimeter where he has an advantage. Ben Howland, the architect of this defense, they do a lot of very, very sound fundamental things that other teams do not do.
And you can get over 60 against Pittsburgh, you've done something.
Yeah.
That was lost in the lane that time. Trying to power his way inside was Philip McCandies, who's been bothered by some strep throat, some illness problems. Didn't practice today and hasn't practiced for a couple of days.
He is long and lean, but against a team that's as physical as Pittsburgh, he needs some growing up to do.
Well, he had started 7 straight games until he ran into the health problems. Here's Knight. Penetrates. That's an offensive foul on Brandon Knight, his first.
Well, Brian Chase did a good job right there, stepping in his zone position to take the charge on Brandon Knight. You know, Brandon was a good football player, too.
Yeah.
And he is a very physical guard. Gets a lot of rebounds for a point guard. Averages almost 4 rebounds a game.
Well, Brandon being 6 feet, but he's about 185, 190 pounds. He's pretty solid.
He really is. And right here, he steps on the foot of Chase, which causes Chase to go down. He was trying to penetrate to the lane to make a play for a teammate. Not this time.
On the perimeter, here's Matthews. Looks inside that time to Deontay Smith, but it's turned over. And back the other way comes Pittsburgh. Knight, Zavatkis inside. Here's Troutman. That's where he's effective and give him 2 points.
Well, McCandies gets up, I'll tell you that, and that's fun in the playground, but it counts 2 in real basketball.
Well, that's how you shoot 75% from the field. Just get in that close. And that's
right.
what Troutman specializes in.
You know, I'll tell you, he shot 72% when he was in high school, too. Next thing you'll know is shooting 72% in the pros in a few years. Big run by Pittsburgh right here. The defense, as you mentioned, John, has done it.
Well, they've opened up a 13-point lead. Chase for three. Gets his second. Brian Chase with a pair of three-pointers. Cuts the lead to 10. 2:10 left in the half.
Chase, a little bit of a defiant look on his face after he made that shot. He's a competitor. He wants to play. Has not played a lot of minutes in the last couple of games.
And didn't play at all in the Notre Dame game. That's deflected and stolen. And fighting his way to the basket is Sales. So Sales gets two. A 5-0 run right now by the Hokies after the 15-5 Pittsburgh run. And they've moved it back now to an 8-point game, and that gets the crowd involved. This is what happened to UConn. They ran into a hot shooting Hokie team and a very intense crowd that night.
They were also glassy-eyed, a little out of it because of their coach's situation.
Lett kicks it out to Page. He's
what a pass!
Three,
what a pass! Oh my goodness! You pass out of the low post when you double to the weak side and find your shooter. Wow! Team basketball. Lett made a great pass to Page.
5 3-pointers here in the first half by Pittsburgh. 3 so far by the Hokies. Zavaskas will return to the Pittsburgh lineup. Good look inside, outside. How about this?
Absolutely. He gets double and triple teamed, and he knows that if that's the way, he knows where to look. Educated play by Lett and Page together. Coordinated effort.
Marcus Sales will handle the basketball. Matthews. Zavaskas jumped out on him. But he gets it inside. It's stripped away.
Well, Smith, another big body. Deontay going hard to the basket on a pick-and-roll situation. Zavaskas gets that foul. Boy, Zavaskas is an experienced player from Lithuania originally. His mother has never seen him play. He sends tapes of Pittsburgh games to her so she can watch. She's never seen him in person. Terrific player in his last year here. Will no doubtedly be playing after graduation, perhaps in Europe.
And by the way, that foul was on Lett, so he'll have to leave because that's number 2 on him. It was not on Zavaskas.
My mistake, excuse me.
It's all right. Deontay Smith from Petersburg. That is his first successful free throw attempt of the year, so he follows it up with another. He's now 2 of 7 at the line. He hasn't had a lot of chances. Because the minute's changing. When you take somebody like Dixon out of your lineup, everybody else is going to get a chance to play some more.
That's right. It changes everything, not just his man.
Page gets it back to Knight.
Active zone. Look at the long arms of the players in this zone right here. You got Matthews right there, Taylor. He can't challenge Troutman when he gets that close.
Now when he gets that low, that's his second field goal. The lead is 11. We're in the final 35 seconds of the opening half here at Castle Coliseum, home of the Hokies of Virginia Tech. Good overplay that time by Troutman.
What
Anticipated well.
Exactly, the anticipation. He showed on the high side, and when the pass came in on the low side, slid around there.
He wanted to stop and tie his shoe, and now he will. And Knight will let him because the Panthers' shot clock is off, so they'll be able to take the final 10 seconds. Off the screen from Brown. Page for 3, short. Brown had it, lost it. Matthews at the buzzer. The Panthers will take an 11-point lead to halftime. Leading scorer for Pittsburgh in the first half is Jerron Brown. He did some of his damage early. Both teams head to the locker rooms. We have our halftime coming up. Another edition of the Big East Wire will follow. It's Pittsburgh 40, Virginia Tech 29 at the halftime. We've got more to come from Blacksburg. Welcome back once again to Blacksburg, Virginia. Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh have played the first 20 minutes. It is halftime here at Castle Coliseum. Time to check out this week's Big East Dodge Tough Player of the Week. He comes from West Virginia, Mountaineers sophomore Drew Shapino, leading scorer for the Mountaineers. He's been among the league leaders in scoring nearly all season long. In addition to averaging better than 20 a game, he also leads his team in rebounds and in steals. That's Drew Shapino of West Virginia, this week's Dodge Tough Player of the Week. And on the Big East Wire, we're going to check out the Player of the Week, second week in a row. Troy Bell from Boston College.
Well, Troy Bell leads the league in scoring. He had 29 points in their win against Virginia Tech this week. Their only victory for Boston College, their only game this week. He also is the leading three-point shooter in the league, shooting 42% from deep range. He had a spectacular game against the Hokies and also takes the most free throws, 170 for 200 on the year, 85%. Accurate and frequent. Troy Bell.
And rookies of the week now. There are two of them, co-rookies of the week. One also from Boston College, the up and under there from Craig Smith.
Well, Craig Smith is a beast around the basket. He is extremely physical. Fitting that he and Carmelo Anthony are the co-rookies this week because they are the co-freshmen of the year. Carmelo Anthony, 2 wins for the Cuse this week. He was great against Michigan State away from home. They won that game. Stellar from perimeter area. He wins it for the 8th time. Carmelo Anthony doing great things for Jim Boeheim and the Cuse.
And when we come back, we're going to check out some other Big East scores from tonight, as well as top 25 action from around the country. Back to Castle Coliseum after this. Halftime here in Blacksburg. It's 40-29. The Panthers ranked number 8, leading the Hokies of Virginia Tech, and we're only about 2 weeks away now from the start of the Big East Championship coming up in Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's the 12th through the 15th. And you want to see more action like that? Get your tickets to the Conagra Foods 2003 Big East Men's Basketball Championship at the Garden. There's the number to call. Tickets are still available, so you'll want to be part of what should be another exciting Big East Championship coming up starting on March the 12th. We have more to come. Saw a lot of hard work in the first half by Terry Taylor, but he'll need to do more in the second half because his club is down by 11. We'll be back after this. Pittsburgh Panthers coming back on the court. They were up by as many as 13 points at one time in the first half. In the locker room with an 11-point lead. Both teams are back getting set for the second half. I'm John Sanders along with Bob Wenzel. Let's take a look at some of our Hyundai first half highlights here tonight.
Well, they were highlights from three-point range for Pittsburgh. Certainly Julius Page was 2 for 5 from the inside, and good team basketball on the part of Pittsburgh, as always. And of course, Brandon Knight, he made 2 of 3 from three-point range. He's got 6 points, 3 assists, and 1 turnover. On the inside, Terry Taylor was the big man inside for Virginia Tech. 8 points inside. He is their main guy close to the basket. And the defense of Pittsburgh, always preeminent. Chevy Troutman makes a terrific play here. They have got 41% in the first half on the part of Virginia Tech. That's why Pittsburgh is way ahead. They shot 56%.
Yeah, if you're not a math major and you can't figure out those percentages, it's about 42 for Tech and over 50% for Pittsburgh, which is what we would expect. Once again, the Panthers had a good assist to basket ratio in the first half. We've got another 20 minutes of basketball coming up. Terry Taylor and company set to go back to work here in Blacksburg. (40-29) the score here. The Panthers used 8 players. 7 of them scored in the first half. For the Hokies, they used 11 players in the half, and 8 different Hokies scored. So the score here at halftime, as expected, Pittsburgh is leading by 11 points.
Well, it's an interesting thing when you use so many players like that. Sometimes it can throw you off. Syracuse throwing West Virginia off big time. And Boston College, St. John's, that's a big one for Boston College. You know, if they can move up, get another win, they'll be 8-5 in the league, making their case for entry into the NCAA tournament are the Eagles.
How many teams this year from the Big East, Bob?
Well, certainly 3 that we know of the West, and then after that, probably 2 more. Connecticut, and then maybe Boston College, maybe Villanova. Though Villanova has lost 5 of 7, John.
And Seton Hall is making a move, and they've still got a game coming up in Pittsburgh.
But they got a long way to go. You know, I mean, they've got 9 losses already, so they've got to win out to be in good shape, which they can do. They're playing very well right now.
The team that wins the Big East Championship gets the automatic berth. So who knows what's going to happen in New York City. Hokies control. Tompkins gets led in the air, pushes it back outside, and that shot by Davis is short, and a quick foul on the rebound.
Virginia Tech has effectively kept Pittsburgh off the free throw line. Pittsburgh only 1 of 2 in the first half from the free throw line, and plays like that, an intelligent foul prevented a breakaway layup.
Well, let's talk about the foul shooting for the Pittsburgh Panthers. Notoriously, they have been among the worst overall. But yet, if you look game by game, there has only been one game you pointed out, probably Syracuse, where it's really hurt them.
It's the only game that has hurt them this year, and I think they tend to ignore this, especially from a coaching stand. There are times they shoot 80%, and that guy, only 27% from three-point range. He's made 3 out of 4 tonight.
9 points for Knight, and quickly the lead jumps up to 14. Tompkins inside buries the shot. He had a field goal early and then was kind of quiet the rest of the first half.
Branham trying to cause some heat, picking up full court, but they are dropping back into zone.
It is Davis, Taylor, Branham, Matthews, and Tompkins, the same starting 5. Here's Knight with a dish to Brown. I don't think that's who it was intended for, but Brown wound up with it out of bounds, and the Panthers will keep it with a fresh clock.
John, you talked about the free throw shooting. Against Georgetown, Pittsburgh shot 82%. Seton Hall, 70. West Virginia, 81. Notre Dame, 70. Providence, 71. So those games, you know, wasn't an issue at all. But then they've shot poorly. Syracuse, 48%. Georgetown, the other time, 58%. Syracuse, the only one where they lost because of it.
Vasquez with the quick kick. Still plenty of time on the shot clock at 20. And Zavachkas looking. I don't know how many Panther fans made the trip here as Brown gets inside and lays in the runner. He's in double figures with 11, but I know Joe Zuccarelli is here. A few weeks back, we came down here for the UConn game. He was on my plane, and he said, I want to come for the Pittsburgh game. Can I get a ticket there? I said, yeah, you shouldn't have a problem. So I'm on the plane yesterday coming in. There he is on the plane again. So he's here someplace. He was bound and determined he was going to come back and go to this game.
Hard to get a ticket at Pittsburgh for Pittsburgh games.
You can't get one there.
Out.
The foul on Zavachkas. 18:01 to play.
Jerron Brown so far in this game has been a point guard, a 2-guard, a small forward, and a power forward. That last play he made in the lane was a power forward move.
And he's the first player on either team in double figures. Batted away by Lett, but the Hokies get it back. So Branham will have to reset. Very quiet offensively for Eric. No points in the first half.
You know, other than Tyree Morris, Pittsburgh is a short team. Ontario Lett is short for a post player, and so is Siobhan Troutman.
But they're wide.
Yes.
Good put back that time by Fabian Davis, who got the ball underneath after the miss, maybe a force a little bit by Damari Tompkins.
Change of defense right here. 1-3-1 zone. First time they've used it today. Matthews playing the point because he's long. He'll make the passes from guard to guard difficult.
And Siobhan Troutman is set to check back in as the second foul of the second half on Damari Tompkins. A little over-aggressive. Here comes Troutman back in, and Zavachkas will go to the bench. It's 45-33. The Pittsburgh Panthers leading by a dozen. And the Panthers have the ball and a new clock. Just about 3 minutes into the second half. Page, a quick pass to the left. Page for 3, short, over the top of the backboard and out of bounds. So Julius Page, the birthday boy, with a miss, and the Hokies will get it back.
Well, that man last year's Coach of the Year nationally, Coach of the Year in the Big East, lost to Connecticut in the Big East Championship game when Caron Butler had a great game playing for the Miami Heat now.
Well,
but a great year.
Yeah, they had a sensational year in each of their last 2 losses. The Big East Championship and the NCAA tournament were overtime contests.
And everybody back from that team.
Along with Texas and Arizona, Sweet 16 teams with all of their starters back. Taylor with a miss. Page scrambled for the rebound, and he touched it last.
All of those teams you mentioned also highly ranked.
Yes.
Right now, also Pittsburgh trying to get the highest seed in the NCAA tournament that they can. Nice double team by both post players on Taylor, forces this miss. Excellent defense right there.
You know, those 3 teams you mentioned with all of their players back are 3 of the 5 teams who've been in the top 10 all year long. Pittsburgh, Texas, Arizona. The other 2 are Duke and Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, big win over Kansas the other day. League play, very important stuff going on.
League play and home wins, crucial.
Yes.
No matter what conference you're in, huh?
Amen.
Here comes Matthews. Leans in and will go to the foul line.
Well, Connecticut and Pittsburgh getting together soon also at Pittsburgh. So that'll be a very, very important game. More important for Connecticut than Pittsburgh. But as I was saying before, John, Jerron Brown and his teammates they are battling for a high seed in the NCAA tournament as well. You know, I mean, if you can get one of the top 4 seeds or one of the top 8 where you're a first or second seed, it's likely you'll play as close to home as possible. Pittsburgh benefited last year as the first and second rounds were played in Pittsburgh.
They played at home, basically.
The experience of going that far, the experience of going that far in the tournament will aid them tremendously this year as well. There's nothing like playing in the tournament, getting the experience, getting your feet wet in those kinds of situations.
It is a veteran team in terms of age and certainly experience. It's one of the advantages Pittsburgh has. This is a team that's basically played together for 3 years.
Exactly.
Nobody else in the conference can say that.
Pittsburgh and Rutgers, the only 2 teams in the conference that do not start freshmen, and where freshmen do not play prominent roles.
Julius Page tonight to Zavascus.
Nice ball movement here.
3-pointer, good. He's on target tonight. That's his 4th. 12 points for Brandon Knight. What is he, 4 of 5 now?
4 of 5 from 3-point range. Jamie Dixon told me before the game, he said, Brandon's playing better. I said, what do you mean? He said, he's shooting the ball better. I said, how come? He said, he's practicing more now. His ankles aren't bothering him. His knees not bothering him anymore. So getting repetition in practice, game conditions. That guy's a winner.
And he has led this team to victory after victory, trying to do it again tonight. Knight launches and hits his 4th 3-pointer of the evening. Pittsburgh up 48-35. It's 48-35, and the 3-point shot is certainly not a big part of the Pittsburgh offense, but it makes them doubly tough when they do hit them, and they have hit them so far tonight.
And there have been games where they've been great from 3-point range, and today is one of those. 7 for 16 so far. Big difference between what they're doing and what Virginia Tech is doing from 3-point range. 21 points for Pittsburgh from deep, only 9 for Virginia Tech in this game, and chief guy involved there, Brandon Knight, making 4.
And he's a big man in the assist department as well. And this is typical of a Pittsburgh game. The Panthers have 13 assists. The Hokies had 3. Branham buries the shot. It's a 2.
Nice executed out of bounds play right there, coming out of the timeout. Run a screen across the baseline. Energy right here for Virginia Tech required. They're coming out and trying to trap, get a turnover.
Trying to trap with that 1-3-1 pressure defense. Pittsburgh handles it, 20 on the shot clock. Just over 15 minutes left in the game. And here's Knight in the lane, rims out. Scramble for the rebound, and that foul is going to go on the Hokies.
I think Jaron Brown going to the offensive boards, pretending he's a power forward in that situation. Lexington, Kentucky, signed with Rick Pitino, was going to go to Kentucky. Pitino left for the Celtics, went to MCI, Maine Central Institute, ended up at Pittsburgh, where he's had a great career.
The foul, by the way, was on Tompkins, and he's the first player with 3 personal fouls. Panthers will take their time offensively.
And take their time and also find seams.
Knight gets to the baseline, draws the bump that time from Davis.
Great patience here. Solid defense on the part of Virginia Tech. They finally get an open look.
That's his second 3-pointer, and the 8th for Pittsburgh tonight.
That's what kills you against Pittsburgh. Looks like they're not doing anything. They're moving the ball, making the defense move, probing, and then finding a good shot for one of their guys.
And there's the double team on Taylor. Gets it back to Branham. Davis, baseline, no place to go. Matthews, inside. Tompkins, good spin move, but he traveled, right? Or was he fouled? No basket. It's going to be on Julius Page, his first. So the basket does not count. We've showed you and talked about it all night long, the good ball movement by the Panthers.
No question about it. This got under 10 seconds. It ended with this 3, but they used almost the entire clock to get the shot they wanted. That's intelligent basketball.
The Chase checks back in along with Marcus Sales. Branham goes to the bench along with Fabian Davis. So those are the changes for Ricky Stokes. The Hokies have the ball under their own basket.
You make me think whether Virginia Tech should start going man-to-man, because Pittsburgh has zeroed in against these zones that they've been playing and have been very, very good from 3-point range. So maybe a change in defense to some man-to-man might be in order.
And that's going to go on the Hokies. And Damari Tompkins has had 4 fouls already in the first 6 minutes of the second half.
Oh, my goodness.
So he's going to have to go to the bench. He may not be back for a while.
Not with until 5 or 6 minutes left in the game. Alan Callaway replaces him. Taller, longer, but less girth.
And you have to have girth when you play Pitt.
Yeah, here's the man-to-man that I just was talking about. They switched. Now they're going to have to guard Pittsburgh's patterns.
Brown gets inside. Beautiful feed to Troutman. He gets the basket and will go to the foul line. Oh, that was well done. Foul is on Callaway, his first. Jerron Brown with 13 points. A chance for 14.
Right here, the drive to the baseline draws several defenders. Taylor comes over to help, and as a result, Troutman wide open. And he's not going to miss anything when he gets that close to the basket. Great playing by Jerron Brown.
Troutman with 6. Off the assist by Jerron Brown, and he nails it at the line.
Siobhan Troutman this year was 10 of 10 from the free throw line against Georgetown, and they won that game by 1 point. So his effectiveness at the free throw line very important in that one.
It is a 17-point lead for Pittsburgh, biggest. Turned over. Krauser comes out of there with it as Chase couldn't hang on to the pass. One thing about Carl Krauser, first thing he's going to do is move up court quickly.
He motors quickly, but you know what he's learned since the first game? Remember, we did their first game of the year. He's learned patience. He motors up quickly and then decides whether it's good or not.
Troutman got inside but not able to finish that time as he drew a crowd. So the Hokies get it back, down 54-37 with just over 13 minutes left.
Workmanlike comes to mind when you watch Pittsburgh play. Fitting, the Steel City has a workmanlike type basketball team representing it.
And only 8 turnovers. They all came in the first half, so they haven't turned it over in the second half. Knight with good pressure. Krauser is out on Chase. 13 minutes remaining in the game.
Well, Marcus Sales, a freshman right here, playing against Brandon Knight, a senior. Brandon Knight giving him a lot of trouble and creates the turnover.
Sales turns it over. Well, the Panthers will get it back, and this is what they do to you. They wear you down. All of a sudden you look up, you're down by 15, 17 points.
Yeah, and there was no burst, was there? No, it wasn't like they had 4 or 5 breakaway dunks or anything right now. Pitt on a 6-0 run. Methodically.
And they're not the kind of team where you're going to have a guy lighting it up for 25 or 30 points.
Precisely. And that's what makes them so good.
Page, Knight, 3. A little bit short. Push off inside, and I believe it's going to go on Callaway.
Zavatkis went hard to the offensive boards. Brandon Knight showing leadership and scoring ability. You mentioned he had 23 against Georgetown several games ago. This is his best shooting night that I can remember from deep.
The Panthers will be content to work the clock.
Notice the ball fake by Knight. That's what created that opening right there. Ball fake moves a zone defense. The defense goes where the ball goes.
Krauser for 3. He missed badly on a couple in the first half. He misses that one. That was closer, but it rimmed out.
That looked like more his shot. The first half, he was flinging it up there.
Here's Matthews. You know, it isn't how many passes you make, it's how many passes you make that result in a good shot, right?
Exactly, exactly. And you take a look at the top teams in the country, they get quality shots, shots that they can make.
Here's Matthews, draws a crowd, the double team, and Troutman reaching in. It's either going to be on Troutman or it's going to be on Page, and I believe it's on Siobhan, his second. 11:47 remaining in the game. Pittsburgh in a comfort zone right now, leading 54-37. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this. Pittsburgh leads by 17. We still have 11:47 to play, and you talked about the shooting of Brandon Knight. His three-pointer has been pretty much on target, and most of his shots have been threes.
4 for 6 from three-point range for the great point guard of the Pittsburgh Panthers. One of his better shooting nights of the year. Catching it and shooting it. Teammates giving him the ball in rhythm, which is what you need to be a good shooter. Has his legs into the shot very, very accurate. 12 points tonight. Also, 4 assists. You can see the 3-point shooting accuracy. Here's one for you. Last year, Brandon Knight was the #1 guy in the country in terms of his scoring and his assists on field goals for his team. 48% of the points on field goals that they scored were due to Brandon Knight. How about that one?
I think if you put it in perspective, if you look and you have 2 guys who combine for about 50% of your offense, that's a pretty good number.
Exactly. He's in the company of Marcus Hatton of St. John's, Chris Thomas of Notre Dame, Andre Barrett, TJ Ford and Troy Bell, and Jason Williams, the former Duke player in that regard.
There's Matthews outside, and of course, it's going to lead us to a discussion about the player of the year. Brandon Knight was the co-player of the year last year. Push off on Page inside, and Julius will pick up his second foul. Could be interesting because a lot of people look at the young man Carmelo Anthony, the freshman from Syracuse, as the potential player of the year, but Troy Bell has done a lot to improve his stock lately.
He really has lately, and of course he's a senior, so he'll get more votes in terms of just being around. Carmelo Anthony, 3rd in the league, John, in scoring, and 3rd in the league in rebounding as well as a freshman. And the Cuse, 19 wins. So you're right, a case can be made for him. And of course, Brandon Knight, a case can be made for him, but you can't really use too many statistics with Pittsburgh players. Nobody in the top 20 in scoring in the league plays for Pittsburgh.
Well, Knight scoring about 4 points a game, maybe 5 points a game less than last year. Certainly not as much of an offensive threat, but there again, he has so much more help cumulative around him than those other players.
That's exactly right. You know, Pete Maravich averaged 44 points a game when he was in college. He's the leading scorer in the history of college basketball. His team didn't win like Pittsburgh wins.
And they want Matthews to get away from the line. He's missed 2 in a row. Let's try backing off and starting over.
Not near his normal numbers, especially rebounds. I've got more than that. I've got 1 less than that, and I'm sitting over here.
Well, I'll tell you what, we mentioned it. Without Dixon in that lineup, they can pay more attention to him on the perimeter.
Exactly.
And you've still got the problem of Taylor inside, who was drawing a lot of double teams early. But if you want to run out of Matthews, you can do it because they don't have that Dixon option in there.
And Dixon's a terrific rebounder as well as a terrific perimeter scorer. The rest of a lot of young guys playing out there with Virginia Tech. 2 freshmen in the lineup right now. Pretty active defense right here, but a nice ball fake creates that.
There's a crowd that stepped around the 3 and now has to rush the shot. Did not hit the rim. It's a shot clock violation.
I think, John, a little too unselfish on that one was Ben Howland's team.
Well, part of the problem, I think, on that possession, all the passes were just around the perimeter. There was no attempt to penetrate.
And usually they do get penetrating passes. Jerron Brown flashes to that free throw area, so does Zavatkis. Torrey Morris right in now to guard Taylor.
Panthers up by 16. This is a 3. It's short. Taylor kept the rebound alive at the offensive end, then has it blocked away, but a foul called. So Taylor's going to get a chance to go to the line.
There's a lot to admire about Terry Taylor. He came in here as a junior college transfer from Allegheny Community College. He was not highly sought after. A lot of people didn't think he was going to be that great a player, but he has really developed, and this is his senior year, really doing a great job, averaging almost 16 points a game and 7 boards.
I'll tell you, the other thing you love about him is his attitude. He has a good time out there no matter what.
Stick-to-itiveness right here. Taps the ball to himself. Does not jump very high, but uses his body extremely well.
Does a good job.
A lot of body to use.
He's in double figures with 10. He's the first Hokie player in double figures. Pittsburgh's lead is 14. See how they come and help when they feel some pressure.
The half-court trap has not been effective at all against Pittsburgh. 4 guys come out there and handle the basketball.
Brown gets it in traffic, puts it up. He traveled. He took a bump inside and lost his pivot foot, so it's 54-40 with just over 10 minutes to go. Panthers looking for win number 20. The team that went 29-6 a year ago, but in order to match that, Pittsburgh needs to keep on winning and go right through the tournament. Taylor turnaround no good. On the weak side, it's Krauser. See how he likes to hurry? No hesitation there.
He goes fast, but he doesn't hurry out of control, does he?
I think early in the year he did some.
Yes.
You mentioned he has changed that.
Definitely.
Play with these same guys night after night, and they will teach you. That's a touch foul. It'll be the first on Brian Chase. Let's see what else is happening in the Big East tonight as we head down the stretch. Syracuse is up by 20 at home against West Virginia. Certainly the Mountaineers, one of the surprise teams in the league. And Boston College continues their second half surge, leading St. John's. Dayton has come back to take a 10-point lead over Rhode Island. No problem for Texas as they take on A&M, or Kansas rather, as they take on A&M up by 30. And Kentucky in a battle so far against Tennessee.
That game is at Rupp Arena. Tennessee, of course, has Ron Slay, a terrific player. Some other scores from the SEC. Alabama and Mississippi State, very important game right there.
I tell you what, I look forward to March, the NCAA tournament. Of course, the conference tournament for the Big East is going to be terrific as Brandon buries a couple at the line. He now has 14 points. He's having a pretty good night. So is his team. They're up by 16. 56-40. Panthers pushing for win number 20 here in Blacksburg. It's 56-40, and after watching the cheerleaders, I've decided, Bob, if you can't do a backflip, you can't be a cheerleader nowadays. And if you're going to play in the NCAA tournament, you've got to be experienced, and are definitely experienced as they look for another push this year when it's NCAA time.
Well, some of their positives, certainly their experience, as you mentioned. They play great defense, which is what you need in the NCAA tournament. They are a terrific rebounding team, +8 on the boards, 3rd in the entire United States. The negative? The free throw shooting percentage, worst in the Big East. It's only affected them, as we told you, one time this year in their loss at Syracuse. They lost by 2, and they were 14 of 29 from the free throw line in that game.
And tonight, not many chances, but the Panthers are 4 of 5 at the foul line. Matthews regains control. Taylor draws the double team, tried to step through, instead spins one up. Kind of out of control. Krauser ahead of the pack as Knight tries to work his way past midcourt. Tapped out of bounds. We have 9:11 to play here at Castle Coliseum, home of the Hokies at Virginia Tech. We're on the campus tonight for Big East Conference basketball. First time the Panthers have ever played here in Big East play. I'm John Sanders along with Bob Wenzel. And I know you're looking forward to the NCAA tournament, Bob, and who knows what's going to happen this year. It's certainly wide open.
It's wide open. Somebody asked me who the top team is. There is no top team. There's 10 or 12 teams that are all about the same. And for those teams, what seed they get in the NCAA tournament, very important. And as a result, their conference tournament becomes important in that regard as well.
Finally, with the foul was Torrey Morris, and that'll be number 4 on him.
He's played solidly tonight. His bulk against Taylor has been extremely important. This is not one of the things that Taylor does precisely very well. It took him a long time to get to the basket on that particular drive. Zavatkis decides to get a little slap action. He's better posting up with his back to the basket.
Well, the important thing was he did get to the basket and drew the foul. He's made all 4 of his free throws tonight. And not that time.
Pulled back on his free throw that time.
A little short arm action.
Short arm action. You got to hold that shooting hand up and wave goodbye to the ball.
That's what I was doing wrong all those years.
Huh? Right. One of the post players on the bench with 4 fouls for Pittsburgh, Torrey Morris, but Ontario Lett and Zavatkis in there, and Troutman still available.
Well, he's got some fouls to give, and we haven't even seen Mark McCarroll, another 6'10" player who doesn't see many minutes.
Well, next year maybe. But you know who doesn't come out of the game very often? Jerron Brown and Brandon Knight. They play the most minutes.
Panthers get a new 35 as Callaway got that boot out there. 8:22 to play. Pittsburgh's lead is 15.
If he just hit that with his hand and it went out of bounds, there wouldn't be a reset. But when you hit it with your foot, automatic reset. Oh,
Good
baby.
Feed, and Brown missed the shot. He was too wide open. And nobody banging at him. This time on the run. Tried to get it back to Matthews, and I think the foul's going to go on Carl Krauser.
You notice how few layups people get against Pittsburgh? They get back quickly.
And they contest it. If you're going to take it to the hole, you're going to pay a price.
Exactly. They go after you. They're a physical team. Sometimes they'll put you on the free throw line where you have to earn it philosophy there is that it's better to foul somebody than give them an easy layup. And when you're in a bad position defensively, foul intelligently. Matthews way under his numbers in this game.
And only 3 for 6 now at the free throw line. All of his free throw attempts have come in the second half.
He's not a great free throw shooter. Normally only 62%. Mass substitutions right here.
Julius Page is checked back in as Deontay Smith returns for the Hokies. Just 8 tonight for Bryant, and he had reached the point in his game where even when he was off, he could get about 20. Well, that's not going to happen against Pittsburgh.
No. 20.8 in his last 5 games. Half-court trap again, John, right here. And you talked about how this has not bothered Pittsburgh much at all.
It does there. Hokies on the move. Pull-up rattles out. Getting it back was Callaway. Gets the roll.
They need more of that kind of action. Sales at the point. It's about 6'5" guard.
Well, it's their first field goal in about 8 minutes. But then the Panthers have been in about the same kind of drought. Neither team able to find the range in field goals, but Lett is all alone. He won't miss that. Wondering how he did not get the chance for a three-point play.
He was asking the official about it on the way down.
Just 1 field goal in almost 8 minutes. Panthers lead with 14, and Virginia Tech hasn't been able to put together a run to threaten that lead.
No, but they have made some free throws, so the 1 field goal in that is one thing, but they have gotten to the line.
Matthews with the size advantage will get a chance for a three-point play. The basket is good. The foul is on Lett, and he's got 3.
Well, Virginia Tech, the last couple of possessions, trying to change defenses, trying to do something to get themselves going. Chase comes back in so that he can shoot from the perimeter. But he's a smaller player, so doesn't guard as much territory when they're in that trapping defense. Talking to Steve Litton about his responsibilities in that defense right now.
Soft iron, very kind to Matthews. He's now got 12 points and leads his team in scoring. Taylor has 11. It's 58-47. Pittsburgh in front by 11. We are inside 7 minutes left. Ontario Lett and the Panthers looking for number 20. It's 58-47. We're going to take a look now at Shooting the Rock. We're brought to you by Rolling Rock. Grab a rock. And one of the reasons the Panthers have a double-digit lead is their three-point shooting.
The percentages on the right don't mean a lot, even though they're even. Pittsburgh, 24 points from three-point range. Virginia Tech, only 9. And they have spread it around quite a bit. Brandon Knight has some. Julius Page has some. And also Donatas Zavatkis has knocked in several from the deep line. And right here, the ball movement is what creates this. Guys looking for one another. When you get a rhythm shot, you can make them. And Pittsburgh's making them tonight.
So despite banging his head on the hardwood early, Zavatkis has a pair of three-pointers, went over 1,000 points in his career in his last game. That route for Pittsburgh at home against Rutgers. And they've had a couple of blowouts in their last couple of games at home. First against West Virginia, and then most recently against the Scarlet Knights.
Pittsburgh now has to work their offense against trapping. It's time to toy with the other team, pull things out, try to find seams in the zone.
Lett dumps it down, tried to find Siobhan Troutman. Too hard, went out of bounds, so a turnover. Still 6.5 minutes to go.
That is an eternity. They were down 11 at halftime. They are down 11 now.
So the first 13.5 minutes of the second half have been played even, despite that early push by the Panthers, and where they stretched it out to 17. Chase with it, kicks it over to Marcus Sales. It's Callaway. Foul is on Julius Page. He's got 3. So does Ontario Lett, and Torrey Morris on the bench with 4 fouls. As Zavatkis is going to come right back to the Pittsburgh lineup.
Virginia Tech running some high screens right there, John, and as a result, they were switching. Pittsburgh was switching on it. Page a little over anxious with his hands.
And they started to bring him in, but you cannot come in until after the first free throw. But that was picked up by Andre Patillo, and he said, nope, wait till he shoots at the line. Now you can come into the game.
And he does, and he's in for Ontario Lett, which makes them smaller, but makes them a better perimeter shooting team. And of course, Zavatkis, the great thing about his overall game is he is also a very good post defender. Did a great job against Troy Murphy, the great player from Notre Dame.
Taylor with an offensive rebound. 13 points for Terry. That brings them to life because it cuts the lead to 8. So one more run maybe for the Hokies. Can they do it?
When the adrenaline flows, you can cover a lot more territory. And that's what the Hokies are doing right now.
Inside, Brown back to Knight for 3 on the way. Good. That is his 5th, and he's got 17 points in the game.
Oh, man.
And credit Jerron Brown with the assist on the play. Went right back out tonight.
Indubitably.
Callaway. Turnaround, too strong. Troutman the rebound. Is there a better way to silence the crowd than with a three-pointer?
I was just trying to figure out how to say that, John. My goodness.
Well,
talking about taking the air out of a balloon.
It puts you back in your seat in a hurry, doesn't it? Knight thought about another 3. Here's Brown, kicks it to Page for 3, rattles it home. So back-to-back three-pointers. Julius Page now with 11.
Talk about experience. Page and Knight, guards, experience in close games, what you need the most.
Just like that, the lead goes back to 14, and a 30-second timeout called by Ricky Stokes and the Hokies. And it's beginning to pile up for the birthday boy. He now has 11. And the Panthers now with 3 players in double figures, which is the norm for them.
This was incredible ball movement right here. The ball went inside, as you mentioned, and then right back out. So Knight gets a square up shoot, watch his hand, waving goodbye to the basketball. And then Page from the other corner, waving goodbye to the ball. Look at the spin on that shot. Perfect rotation. And three-point shooting, not normally in the arsenal of Pittsburgh. Very much in evidence tonight. Spectacular 30 points from three-point range, and Page and Knight doing most of the damage here when the Hokies got close.
Panthers will hit the road back to Roanoke after the game, stay close to the airport so they can get out on an early flight, get back to class tomorrow.
They will play UConn on the 2nd, Seton Hall on the 5th, and at Villanova on the 9th in their last 3 games.
Julius Page 2 points away from that 1,000-point club. Taylor's turnaround rattles in. Terry Taylor, pretty good night. He's got 15 coming off the 27 he had against Notre Dame. But Pittsburgh still in front by a dozen.
Knight is also strong, physically strong.
Good upper body strength. You mentioned his football ability. A lot of teams were looking at him as a football player. Knight will spot up for 3. He's got it tonight, doesn't he? That's 20 points. 6 three-pointers.
I don't see any pounding of his chest. Do you?
No.
Knight very.
But a lot of times that'll follow a drive when he gets under the basket.
Yeah, right. Right.
He has had the three-point shot working for him so far tonight. Take us to a timeout with 3:36 to play. Pittsburgh is back up by 15. They've hit 3 three-pointers in a row. It's a 20-point night for Brandon Knight. The Panthers in control. Panthers on the way to win number 20. Just could be. Let's take a look at the BMW ultimate drive of the game as we come back to Castle Coliseum. In truth, there hasn't been a lot of driving tonight, but a lot of outside shooting.
A lot of three-point shooting, and of course right here we look at this as the ultimate drive.
It was the ultimate finish, that's for sure.
And that play happened after a steal and basket by Virginia Tech when they had some momentum going. So A very, very nice play by Pittsburgh.
And the last 3 baskets for the Panthers have been 3-pointers.
Brandon Knight twice from the top of the key, and Julius Page from the right corner. That is deflating when you get going defensively like Virginia Tech did, to have that happen.
Chase for 3. That one rims out. Rebound by Troutman. Brian did hit a couple of 3-pointers in the first half, but comes up empty here. 15-point advantage. 3:20 remaining in the game. Here's Page, celebrating his 21st birthday tonight. But as you pointed out, he is the youngest player in the starting lineup. Got a couple of 23-year-olds, another 21-year-old, and Zavatkis is 22.
Use of clock by Pittsburgh.
Page for 1,000 points. Comes up short. Did Brown push off? Probably so.
Pittsburgh foul on number 4, Juwan Brown.
That'll be his third.
He needs a 3 to get 1,000.
He needs 2 to get 1,000.
2 to get 1,000.
3 would make him 1,001 and just kind of cement it for him.
Zavatkis got his 1,000
on a 3.
On a 3 last game against Rutgers.
Right. It was his first 3-point shot of the game. He had 2 3-pointers in that game, but the Panthers certainly have used the 3-pointer to their advantage tonight.
Oh, it's been unbelievable. I mean, this is very, very unusual for them to shoot this many and this accurately. It shows the diversity of their team and their ability to adjust to different situations. I guess that's why they're the 8th-ranked team in the country.
I guess that's one of the reasons, isn't it? The defense might have a little something to do with that. A 7 out of 10 at the free throw line for Matthews, and basically 1 point at a time in the second half, and now up to 14. Knight. Zavatkis gets timeout. Yes, he did. So Zavatkis called time. 2:57 to go. It's 67-54. You talked about what is coming up for the Pittsburgh Panthers. They have that big game on Sunday against Connecticut ahead, and then another home game next Wednesday, Seton Hall. That'll be a big game for Pittsburgh as well.
Hottest team in the league.
They will finish the season on the Sunday, the 9th of March, as they will be out on the road against Villanova. And then, of course, on to New York City, and hoping to do something they haven't been able to do the last 2 years, and that's finish it off and win the Big East championship.
They would love to do that, put another feather in their hat. Not compulsory for them to do that to advance in the NCAA. However, their resume extremely good, vying for as high a seed as they possibly can get. At this time of year, a lot of conversation about that among people who follow college basketball, and of course the players have to concentrate on not letting that be a peripheral opponent for them.
Well, those that
concentrate on taking care of business.
Those that make those predictions are not on the committee that makes the decision, and that's one of the differences. Brian Chase picks up his second foul. 2:40 to play. We are in Blacksburg tonight. And our game is being brought to you by BMW. Test drive the ultimate driving machine at your local BMW center.
I like those BMW convertibles.
What do you have, 2 of them?
From your lips to God's ears.
Yeah. Well, if I had, Kai said, if I had your money, I'd throw mine away.
I like those ads they used to do with the ultimate tanning machine, too. That was fun.
Knight has been perfect at the line, 3 for 3. He's been outstanding in 3-pointers. That is the more typical Brandon Knight. Didn't touch anything.
No emotion.
It was going too good, wasn't it? He has 21 points.
He'll take 1 free throw air ball when he's shooting like he has been from 3-point range.
And when you're up by 14 with 2:40 to go,
no emotion.
Panthers moved into a double-digit lead late in the first half, and they have kept it there pretty much. The Hokies did get within 8, but then the Panthers came with back-to-back 3-pointers, and that was pretty much that. Here's Chase spinning inside.
Look at that defense by Knight on Chase. Chase is quick and had a move. Couldn't get it.
3-pointer. Rimming in, and a foul called underneath. Fabian Davis gets credit for the 3-pointer. Just his 3rd of the year. It is a 3. And the foul, I think, is going to go on Taylor.
This is good penetration and dish right here. The shot is challenged well and makes it difficult. Davis really makes a nice play. I believe it might be, you're right, it's on Taylor.
Just his 2nd.
on the rebound, pushed off. Of course, there was no rebound because the basket was made.
Well, if there had been a rebound, he'd be the only guy standing there. He cleared the path. Here's Troutman to the line. Siobhan 1 for 1 at the free throw line. He has 7 points. Pittsburgh's lead is 11.
Watch his free throw motion. He goes all the way down, almost sits on his heels when he does that.
You know, I saw him doing that
Very
in practice,
unusual.
and I was wondering if he was exaggerating for effect, but that's the way he shoots the free throws.
That's his thing.
The Panthers,
All the way down.
the Panthers close every practice with a free throw contest.
Does the winner
Winner gets
get
nothing.
to go home early?
No. It's really bad for the losers because
They had a run.
the first one you miss, you go sit down, and you might be there for 10 minutes while they're trying to settle the free throw contest. 2:12 to go. Pittsburgh leading by a dozen. It's 69-57. We mentioned for the Hokies, this is game 1 of a 3-game homestand because they will have Villanova here on Saturday. Then next Wednesday it's Miami, and that's a critical game for Virginia Tech, and then they will finish the season at West Virginia. What about the RPI rankings and the status of some of these Big East teams?
Well, look on the right-hand side. Those are your RPIs, but they change frequently. You want to be in the top 45 to assure that you're going to get a bid. So those teams right there above that, including UConn and Boston College, kind of on the periphery. That's what you have to think about with RPI. But you also look at those top 3 teams are in great shape. UConn in very, very good shape. So those 4 certainly are going to be in there. The 5th is very much up in the air right now with Boston College, Seton Hall, and Villanova. All possibilities. A lot will depend on what they do in those last 3 games in the regular season and in the Big East tournament.
Well, you mentioned Villanova, a young team, and they have been slipping of late. Frazier hurt as well. One of their outstanding freshmen is injured. Taylor backs his way in, powers it off the glass, and good. 17 points for Terry Taylor. There's just nothing you can do to stop him. The foul goes on Marcus Sales.
Well, Terry Taylor, certainly a wide body in the fondest sense of that term. As a basketball player, really a great addition to this team. Also a good leader out there. I saw them in the Chicago airport after their loss to Notre Dame, spoke with a couple of players and a couple of coaches, and they were excited about coming in here and playing against Pittsburgh, a highly ranked team.
You know, speaking of teams running into others in the airport, how about this situation last weekend? Seton Hall and Rutgers were on the same flight from Newark to Pittsburgh. Seton Hall was going to play at West Virginia. Rutgers played at Pittsburgh, but the 2 teams were on the same flight to the same airport. That doesn't happen very often.
No, indeed. Brandon Knight shooting much better tonight than he is on the season, obviously.
5 out of 6, 23 points. So he's matched the total he had against the Hoyas and matched his season high at 23. So his scoring in 2 of the last 3 games, he's had 23 points. Chase.
Well, the UConn coaches, John, are going to look at this stats and look at this film and say, oh, man, now we got to deal with Brandon Knight shooting threes also in that game Sunday.
Matthews has it knocked out of bounds, touched last by Knight.
A little poke in the eye on that one.
He takes a beating. He's very physical, and he sets the tempo.
He gives a beating a little bit, too. I'll tell you that.
He certainly helps set the tempo for this Pittsburgh defense, which is as good as there is, not just in the Big East, but in the country. Timeout called, 71-59 with 1:36 to play.
Brandon Knight moves his feet very well, and that's the mark of a good defensive player. But even when he's on the ground, he plays defense. Watch him slap that ball away. He has 2 pet alligators in his room. One is called Junior Gator, one is called Juvenile. And maybe he, you know, that length that he does when he's lying on the ground makes him act like a gator.
Well, he also rooms with a guy that came with him from high school, who's one of the managers on the team, and they are pretty much inseparable.
Known each other since they were little guys, kindergarten.
Brandon Knight hurting just a little bit right now, but he has played throughout this season, as you mentioned right at the beginning, with an assortment of injuries.
Yes, ankles especially, and that really tones it down. Knees had bothered him. But a lot of guys play with that kind of stuff during a college basketball season.
Well, you have to. Matthews with the quick three, too strong. Zavatkis has the rebound. Gets it to Troutman. Less than a minute and a half left. They put Zavatkis to the line as Chase picks up his third. And Donatas is the best free throw shooter on the Pittsburgh team.
At 77%.
Wow. Syracuse really bombs away on West Virginia. And Boston College continues to lead St. John's. But I think what happens a lot of times, maybe happened a little bit to Villanova. You're so young, you get in the latter part of the season and you run into some problems.
No question. You hit the wall. Guys aren't used to playing that long, season that long for young players. That's a big adjustment.
And that's part of the problem that West Virginia is facing as a team that starts 3 freshmen, 2 sophomores.
Surprised team in the league, I thought, early in the season, but now my vote goes to Seton Hall.
Right. They were the first half surprise, and it's the Hall in the second half.
Seton Hall 7 wins in a row and playing like a team.
Blocked by Troutman. Davis scoops it up. And it is helter-skelter basketball right now. Foul is going to go on Donatas Zavatkis, as I think Andre Patillo stood there long enough, figured, I got to call a foul on somebody here.
You wonder right here whether Pittsburgh wants to make sure they hold people under 60, which is the threshold level for them.
Well, they have no control right now because Matthews will be at the line, where he is 7 out of 10, make it 8 of 11. But most of his points in the second half have come at the foul line. 8 points. He has only 1 field goal in the second half.
Pittsburgh does that to you. Like I said, they're not afraid to foul when they get in bad position, and they force you to make free throws. And when you're only 62%, something like that from that area, it's sometimes a good percentage play.
Handled by Page, who may have to wait another day to hit 1,000 points. Knight gets alone and has a season-high 25 points tonight. Now, this is the Brandon Knight people are used to seeing.
This is the guy who shared honors with Caron Butler as Player of the Year and was preseason Player of the Year in the Big East this season.
Foul is called on Jerron Brown. That'll be his 4th. He did push off.
I have to laugh a little bit about players who talk, people who talk about the fact that Brandon Knight has not had a good senior year. I think he's had a great senior year. You don't measure it always in terms of statistics when you're a point guard and a leader for your team, especially when you have a terrific team.
Well, when you've got 6.5 assists a game, you must be doing something right. Plus, your team is closing in on 20 wins. That's the measure.
That is the key statistic right there. Extension of a coach on the floor. Ben Howland says he's the Einstein of college basketball. Reference to the famous scientist.
Well, they've had a nice run together, haven't they?
What was that formula? E equals MC squared?
That's the formula.
I think at Pittsburgh it's D equals 25 wins.
You might be right. Jerron Brown keeps his dribble, and now he'll give it back to Page. Final 30 seconds of the game. Pittsburgh on their way to win number 20. And more work to be done, though, for the Panthers. Got to make sure of that bye in the first round of the Big East Championship. Troy Morris from the side. The rebound. Another 3-point attempt that's short, and Page snags the rebound. The Panthers will run out the clock and win it 75-62. Another strong defensive performance by Pittsburgh and a super offensive night tonight for Brandon Knight.
Brandon Knight was spectacular, especially shooting from the perimeter, which is not his forte. Did a great job when the game was close, knocking in 3-point shots. And Pittsburgh showing its muscle at Virginia Tech, what you would expect from the 8th-ranked team in the country.
The Panthers' big weapon tonight was the 3-point shot. They used it to finish off the Hokies 75-62. Go to 10-3 in conference play. For Bob Wenzel and our entire crew here in Blacksburg, I'm John Sanders. Thanks for watching. Good night, everyone.